Hey guys, Pastor Jason here, and this is our man moment. This is our wild man, where we talk about what it is to live like a man in today's culture and to live like a wild man, a man whose life is, he's wildly in love with his wife or his girlfriend or his children. He's wildly in love with his family, and he wildly and passionately serves God. A man who stands out, like John the Baptist stood out, and this man stands out. And I don't think we can find a better illustration of a wild man than Daniel. Daniel is this incredible character in the Bible, full of wisdom, who stands out in difficult times. He stands out in a lost culture. He stands out as a very gracious, very good, but very manly man. And Daniel reminds me of one of my favorite animals, the bison. We're beginning a new sermon series this week called The Way of the Buffalo, and it's just a look for a couple weeks at how buffalo handle problems, and more particularly how Daniel handled problems. And one thing that I think that jumps out to us is that Daniel handled problems, he handled difficulties by running into them. He went directly towards the problem. He went directly towards the issue. Daniel was not someone who ran away from a problem. He ran into it. And fascinatingly enough, buffalo are these amazing creatures, bison, buffalo, whatever you want to call them. They're these amazing creatures who, when they know a storm is coming, rather than like cows who will run from a problem, buffalo will use all of their strength and all of their energy and run into that storm. They'll run into it. Why? Because they know that if they run into it, they get through the problem quicker. Often, we run from our problems. We try to escape our problems, and all that we do is we give our problems more time to build up steam. I don't know if you've ever seen, I grew up by the Great Lakes, and we've gone and done some body surfing, and there's these awesome guys called the ice surfers, where they surf in the middle of the winter and they watch all of these, they ride these waves, and a storm will build up power and build up power as it goes. And so if you're going to get through the storm, you've got to get through it quickly. So buffalo, when faced with the problem, will go through that problem. They'll go into that problem. Daniel chapter 2 is this amazing story of a man named Daniel who's faced with a problem. He's supposed to be killed. The king wants to kill him and all the other wise men, and he wants to do it in this crazy way by ripping their arms and their legs off. This is a problem for Daniel. And we find Daniel going to the captain of the king's guard and discussing this with him. And then he uses wisdom, he uses prudence, he uses discretion. He's very gracious and kind, and he gets through the problem. But what was so fascinating to me was how he was there in the problem while the rest of the wise men run away. If you have time to read Daniel chapter 2, I recommend it. Daniel goes into a problem. Men, we need to be men who go into the storm. We cannot be men who are afraid of problems and run from problems. Why? The problem only gets bigger, it only gets worse, or we spend all of our time running from one problem into another one. This happens so often, and as men, we need to lead the way. As men, we need to be warriors. We need to be wild men. We need to be those who say, you know what, yes, this is a problem, but you know what, we're not going to run from it. Yes, this is a difficulty, but we're not going to run from it. Instead, we are going to run into it. I want our church to be full of men who lead by running into storms, not away from them. Who run into problems, not away from them. Who, yes, use wisdom. The buffalo is one of the wisest animals there is. It's got this incredible, intuitive wisdom. We need to have wisdom, but we also need to stop running from our problems. We've seen people who run from one disastrous relationship into another, into another, into another, into another, into another. And the whole time, the initial problem is that they ran from a problem at the beginning, and they're still running now, and they're running into another storm, into another bad relationship, and they'll say things like, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. Well, it keeps happening to you because you're running from your problems, not into your problems. We've got to be people who, like the buffalo and like Daniel, we've got to be men who run into our difficult times. We run into our storms. We need to be warriors. We need to be wild men. We cannot be cowards. You will stand out from the rest of culture. You will be like Daniel if you live as a man who goes towards problems, not away from them. You'll stand out to your peers. You'll stand out to those who work with you. You'll stand out to women who are looking for a man who's not a coward in a world full of cowards. You'll stand out to those around you. You'll stand out to your peers. You'll stand out to your church. We, as a church, we look for men who are like, hey, this guy can lead, and we know why he can lead, because he's willing to tackle the tough problems. So as men, we need to be more like Daniel and more like the buffalo, and we need to run into the storm, not away from the storm. I love you. You matter. Jesus matters. Grace matters. And details matter. Have a great rest of your week.